Sam Logue here for irishboxing.com. Delighted to be joined by Dee Waldo Walsh here in the Glian. I'm still trying to figure out how to pronounce this club's name properly.
It's down in Dublin. When they're calling out the fighter's name, it's Glenanne, they call it. And I call it Glian, but it's actually pronounced Glan.
Glan.
In Irish.
Yeah.
Glan. ABC.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, Glan, but I was getting confused. Someone else told me Glian. I was like, anyway, so no problem. Everyone knows who you are anyway. Yeah, so in the gym today, I was lucky enough to come up, watch a bit of sparring. It was kind of like the free sparring today. It looked like all the lads, different weight classes, all in with each other. Owen O'Neill, Paddy Mccrory, Colin Murphy, Connor Quinn, all the boys. Big KAROL, the crusher they call him, right?
Yep, he's the real deal. He is the crusher.
Yeah. All the lads, different weights, getting in with each other. Touch on that first of all. Like, that's an interesting way, I suppose, of going about the sparring. It seemed to be kind of all about adaptation, kind of dealing with different kinds of styles. Is that basically what you're going for with a sparring session like that?
Yeah, 100%. I think, my opinion, is the way you start a fight is how you're setting the pattern for how the fight ends up going on, if you know what I mean, especially in the later rounds. So every round, you're getting in with someone new, or it's your first round. So every round's like a first round. So I'm trying to get them is to get their game going, their pattern going. So by the time the later rounds come, that's the way the fight goes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. No, it was interesting and some really good sparring, very intense. One of the lads was saying to me, it's like the doghouse, they call it Doghouse Fridays.
100%, Doghouse Fridays. Yeah, I'm calling it that for a couple of years now.
That's gas. It's brilliant. That was great to watch. And we got some sparring footage as well, which we'll hopefully get up as well. But yeah, how have you been, man? It's been a while. We've had Christmas. How was your Christmas? And have you been over the last while?
All good. I didn't stop over Christmas at all. I had the pros in training. I think took 2 days off for Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then that was it. Straight back in again. I'm not one for taking breaks. Actually, I'm not a fan of Christmas because it ruins my routine. So I just keep going.
Fair enough. Professional, eh? Professional man. But yeah, excellent stuff. I mean, let's reflect a little bit back on 2021 then, because I think it was quite a good year for you as a trainer, and also for the guys that you had. The last big fight card was in the Ulster Hall, the Conlon Boxing Show, where you had Lewis, Paddy and Owen. Well, Owen was in an exhibition fight, which we'll touch on. But if you just want to touch on the fights and kind of your reflections on it now on that show. And Lewis, obviously we start with Lewis, was against Haroyan, which was I think he was 17-2-1 at the time. It was a good test for Lewis. Your thoughts looking back now on that fight?
Well, I think at the time it was probably a perfect opponent for Lewis in terms of like level, his record, and the type of fighter he was also. I thought his performance was very good. He's very like Canelo, I thought, in this performance, because we have been practicing, as I showed you, the stuff that we've been doing like over the last year, but the way he fought was one of the things that we went over, and that's the way obviously he fought there. It was like kind of like wore him down, not waste that much energy, and then after like round 5 I said to Lewis, he's done now. I seen him like kind of take a big deep breath, and I says round 5 it was roasting in the Ulster Hall, like seeing them lights, it was hot. I was sweating and I was in the corner. Do you know what I mean? So after round 5, I seen him take a big deep breath. I said, Lewis, he's done. He dropped them round 6 and then started them round 7, because the type of pressure that Lewis was putting on, it kind of like suits towards like the later rounds, like getting them out of there, like the way Canelo does. Like he kind of like takes it easy and works his way into it, and kind of just like uses the start to set up the end, if that makes sense. Loma does it as well. Canelo does it. And Lewis is also did it in his last fight there. And I think probably going forward, Lewis has got the type of skill like Canelo, so he could definitely see that in the future, more and more fights going near enough the exact same way that fight did there. And that was a good test to kind of work on that type of thing that we're doing.
We won't go into too much detail on the ins and outs, but yeah, no, it seemed to be a great performance, and a great step in the right direction for Lewis. And we will touch on Lewis later on, but let's just kind of continue on that card for the moment. Then you had Paddy, who was the co-main event, or the chief support, if you like, who was in a good solid fight against Celso Neves, I think, from Switzerland. He was kind of like, I think he was 8-0 or 8-1, you know, decent record, good fighter. Paddy had a sensational knockout in that fight. Yeah, just talk to me again, reflections on that fight.
Well, we actually went in with a game plan that we've been doing for maybe 6 weeks, because obviously I study a lot of the fighters, and well, all the fighters my fighters are fighting. So we had a game plan of what I'd seen, and to be honest with you, he came out the total opposite of what all his other fights were, which is almost never happens ever. Yeah. So he came out and he was very aggressive, and I said to Paddy at the end of the second round, because he did push Paddy back a wee bit. I said to Paddy in the first round, I said, you're going to have to need to push him back, because as I say, it would be very tough to box and move, especially when we were practicing going forward and pushing him back and what to do pushing him back. I said, you're going to have to go out and go through it, weather the storm a wee bit, push him back, and then that's going to set the pattern for like the rest of the fight. You get me? It was in the first 30 seconds, I think, when Paddy did push him back. I think he hit Paddy, and he must have thought he was safe. And then obviously Paddy hit him with a hammer, and it was a hammer because he spun right round on his face, and then he was done after that. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of referees would have stopped it then because it was such a heavy knockdown, but obviously he wasn't all there. So Paddy finished him with an hour knockdown. I think he was like complaining that the fight was stopped. I know he probably watched it back and went, all right, I get why it was stopped now, because maybe Paddy had him with 2 absolute belters.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great performance, and again, yeah, when you're watching Paddy Mccrory punch, it's different. Like he's a big punch, big hurtful puncher, and even seeing him today in the gym, like he's huge. Like for a super middleweight, like he's such a big unit of a man. I was standing beside him chatting to him, and I just kind of was looking at him, and then looking at him next to KAROL, who's like a light heavyweight, who's like a big guy as well. You're kind of like, my God. Yeah, they're.
Well, they spotted each other before Paddy's fight against Gorokov, the Russian. And he looked twice the size of Paddy, but the day Paddy looked twice the size of him. That's as actually saying to someone while they were sparring. But the size of Paddy, he's massive.
Yeah. Absolutely huge, I have to say. It won't be an issue now for him to get back down to super middleweight, will it?
No. Paddy actually has been heavier than that. See, during lockdown, Paddy was 90 odd kilo, like, so I mean, so yeah, and he made weight for the Allison fight easy enough. So no, Paddy is professional. Yeah. I have to say, when Paddy's in the zone, he's in the zone, and he I have to say he's really professional in what he does.
Excellent, yeah, and it definitely was a professional turnout today in the sparring. It was excellent footage. So then we had the whole debacle of Owen O'Neill and Jordan Latimer. Obviously, thank God for Dominic Donegan, who stepped in for his second exhibition fight. He had one with Jake Haney, I think, a couple of months before, when Jake's fight fell through, and then he jumped in with Owen when the Latimer fight fell through. So first of all, just a little mention of Dom and the exhibition fight before we touch on the whole Latimer instance.
Well, but my fight with Dominic, Owen actually didn't even warm up. Whatever way it was, with the timing, Owen was getting his wraps done, and the guy came in and says to him, "You're in 10 minutes," and Owen's hands had just got wrapped, hadn't got any of his gear on, so he rushed his gear on. He and then got the gloves on, and they were like, "You need to go now." So he literally didn't warm up. We had the pads. He probably had about 20 punches tops. So we rushed down, and I think because of the whole week and stuff like that, there, Owen didn't perform in any way. I don't even think he even really cared, because it was an exhibition, 14-minute rounds, and it was just one of them things, just through emotions, and I thanked Dominic at the time for stepping in, because that week was kind of crazy. So it was. I'm just glad that was over for him, and moving on to hopefully he gets a big fight now.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So talk to me about the whole Latimer debacle. Like, from your perspective, what went on there? You know, obviously there's a couple of sides. There's 2 sides to the story, I suppose. You know, Jordan's side and kind of Owen and your side. But as far as you're concerned, what went on there?
I think it's pretty unanimous in the fact that the guy just didn't want it. Like, at the end of the day, his manager was texting Owen apologising, I think that just says it all. I think he was on. Someone showed me his Facebook. He's been writing stuff like, "Oh, the truth's going to come out," or something along them lines anyway, and about the boxing world being not being classy or something along them lines. But I don't know. I just see the whole week, it was just terrible. He just didn't want it. He just didn't want the smoke. It's that simple. And he's not one I was thinking about there. I couldn't even remember his name. Or see stuff like that. I just try to blank it out of my mind all together, because if you actually started dwelling on stuff, what he done on that week, you wouldn't be in boxing for very long if you were to constantly think about the bad part of boxing, because that was horrible. And then I actually didn't know that he had done that like a few times from the last year. So that guy's just better off just packing boxing and just going and doing something else, because I could have been very damaging to Owen's career, because I remember even when I boxed myself, there was times where fights fell off last minute, or fights fell through last minute. You have to think about it. Like, people are paying. You have to struggle to sell tickets, right? And then people are buying tickets off, either getting babysitters for their kids. It's probably people's first night out all year, or whatever, and they're looking forward till the next minute you're coming in and saying, "Oh, my fight's called off now." They're going, "I'm not going to buy tickets off him ever again." So it can be very damaging to people's career, and it happened to me. I'm not going to lie, it happened to me. I had a couple of fights called off from the last day, early in my career, and but thankfully one has a good support base. Do you know what I mean, in North Belfast, and he'll be alright. But at the same time, could be very damaging to him. And that guy, like, it's not good to have that guy around boxing, to be totally honest with you. So he's better off just packing it in, and I actually hope nobody works for that guy ever again, and I hope he doesn't fight anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. I know from your guys' perspective, it was a huge blow, and it was you were raging. I remember you kind of came out with a statement after it, and you were very, very, very annoyed. From, again, I don't want to be too biased on any side, but like, you were very, very frustrated about that situation. Yeah,
well, to say it's a side of boxing. Like, as I say, I won't even took like 2 weeks off work. Lost a lot of money, and as I say, if I got called off in the last minute because somebody just battled it. If you had to say it's like maybe a week or two beforehand, you'd want it. Sweet, we'll get somebody else in, get a journeyman in. But because it was so late in the day, that thankfully Dan McDonaghan stepped in for an exhibition. But as I say, it was frustrating, and it's even frustrating even talking about it, to be honest with you. I just hope I know it's going to happen again down the line. Like, I've got kids 11 years of age when they're pro in 10 years' time. They're going to have to deal with this part of the game as well. So it is what it is.
I suppose, unfortunately, it is part of the game to some degree, isn't it? And you have to learn how to almost semi-anticipate these things and be able to kind of get over it and deal with it when it happens, right?
Yeah, it's like, I what he called, as I say, I was actually thinking yesterday, I couldn't even remember that guy's name, because I've put it so far back in my mind, because I actually don't want to focus on the bad part of the sport, as I say. So I think that's how I deal with it. I'm like, it never happened. Don't even know the guy's name, and that's it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Let's move on to talk a little bit about your pros that you have in the gym. I just kind of want to see, reflect a little bit on the years that they've had and look at what's in their future. So we'll start with Lewis. As probably at the moment the leading name. Well, himself and Paddy are probably the two leading names coming from the gym at the moment, from your stable. Lewis had a good year. Obviously, he had 2 or 3 fights, but two big wins. Obviously, ending with Haroyan in the Ulster Hall in, I think it was November, right? So, what was the year for Lewis? Were you happy with it from your perspective as his trainer? Is he coming on at the rate that you want him to? And then, what do you see in Lewis's future this year? What would you like him to tackle?
Well, it's hard to say because I am Lewis's coach. I basically just take it as it comes. Once his manager sends me whoever he's fighting, then I get straight into studying the guy, and then that's when we had it head on then, in terms of a game plan and then going to fight. Last year I was pretty happy. Like, he had 2 10-rounders. Well, obviously one finished in the 7th round, but in all honesty, I thought there were 2 pretty good opponents in terms of where he is at the minute in his career. But I would dare say that there's going to be harder tests to come here in the next year, which we'll be ready for. But as I say, I'm just going to take it fight by fight with him, and then we'll take it from there once we get a name and a date whenever he's fighting.
Yeah. Are there any names in the hat for Lewis, or is there any titles that you want? Like, would you like to tackle, say, the British title this year? Is that a target for you guys? Is that a target for Lewis personally? And then, yeah, like in general, how many times does he want to fight this year? What kind of opponents are in mind? What kind of titles?
Well, isn't they call a guy Esserman, who's the British champion at the minute, black guy?
Go Esserman, yeah.
Yeah, he. I would like Lewis to fight him, because he's the champion. But then you're looking at it and going, from their point of view, do you really want to fight Lewis, who is going to beat him? Is he going to get paid that much money? Would he not rather prefer Conor Benn, who would get more money from? I doubt that he would even want to fight Lewis. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, like last year, Lewis was put in a position where if he won, then he was going to fight the winner. He was meant to fight Tomlinson. Then if he beat Tomlinson, he was going to fight the winner of Jenkins, Esserman. But Tomlinson didn't want to fight. And then Esserman beat Jenkins. But there's been no word of Lewis fighting for the British title, even though the British board ordered them fights to happen. Yeah. So he's just been kind of like left in the dark more than anything. But that's the fight I would like him to have, because the British title is so prestigious, like the Lonsdale belt. I think it was Carl Frock says all the WBC, IBF titles, WBA, whatever he has is in the attic, but the British title is sitting in his living room because it's just so prestigious. It's a title that that you would want to win. So I mean, it's one of them type of belts. I think it's one of the first belts, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ever. And so it's a belt that you would like to have, and it's a belt that I would like to have in the stable more than anything. Going for WBA, like international and the BBC, so it's brilliant. It's good to have them belts. Get used to winning belts also, but it's the British one that I would love Lewis to have the most.
Yeah. And is that something that he particularly wants to tackle himself as well?
Yeah. Oh, I would definitely say so. Yeah. Lewis is a quiet guy. He wouldn't really be outspoken and stuff like that there, but I would imagine that he would like it.
Yeah. So what else is Lewis looking to take on this year? And again, is there any kind of names in mind that you would like? Like, is say someone like Conor Benn, is he a target, or are there any welterweights around the kind of British Irish scene that are, names that he would like to get in with this year?
Well, in all honesty, if he was the fight that guy Esserman, next fight I'd love him to fight Conor Benn. Yeah. Conor Benn's a brilliant fighter, like, and that it wouldn't be an easy night's work. Let's be real here. But at the same time, people just don't understand how good Lewis is, and if he was the fight better fighters, he would actually raise his game. But I think that guy would be a great stepping stone for Lewis to go on to fight people like Conor Benn. Yeah. So as I say, that's the fighter who would like Lewis to fight the most, and for obvious reasons he's got the British title too. So I think in that order you would love that in an ideal world, but it more than likely won't happen. Because like, would you really go out of your way to fight Lewis? Yeah. So I mean, you're gonna probably need a good payday to fight Lewis.
Does Lewis need to be pushed further into the limelight? Does he need some kind of big television cards to kind of get his name out there a bit more, so that he becomes more of like a lucrative matchup for other guys who have big names?
Well, 100%. I think everybody in the sport could do that type of thing. Do you know what I mean? And but I think I'd actually love Lewis to be kind of like be the main man in the Ulster Hall, because I think I would be brilliant for him, all his fights to be there. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause I don't know if you were last time, but the atmosphere was absolutely brilliant. And I think, as you say, on TV's where you want to be, especially Sky Sports and stuff. So don't know what's going to happen in the future, but hopefully, as you just said there, hopefully it goes that way. Yeah.
What do you make of Florian Marku? That's a name that just popped to my head. That could be a real big fight. And just because you mentioned Sky Sports as well, I seen that Florian just did a re-signed with Boxer, who are obviously not exclusive, I don't think, with Sky, but are like the main UK-based promoter who are working with Sky. Is that a matchup that you would like? That would be that looks to me like it could be a big TV fight.
Well, in all honesty, I've never really seen that much of Marku, to be honest. But I know he's like a big name in the country. He's from Albania or something like that, and 100%. Like, I wouldn't fear anybody for Lewis, to be totally honest with you. So if you said to me that Lewis is fighting Earl Spence next, so obviously it's going to be hell. It's going to be tough. But in all honesty, like, we'll come up with a game plan. We'll go for it, as I say. We'll take every fight step by step and fight by fight. So if it was to be Marku, Conor Benn, Esserman, I don't even know if Jenkins is still knocking about, but it would be Jenkins. we'll be ready for him.
Bit of revenge for Paddy Gallagher.
I guess Paddy is a Gleon man, and we're in Gleon.
Yeah.
Oh, he would no doubt get revenge there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move slightly away from Lewis then. Let's talk about Paddy Mccrory. Had a great year. Again, I think two fights, but two big wins. Yeah. Like two kind of put your name on the map wins, especially the fight against Gorokov at the Fela, and then just to follow it up with a good solid knockout at the Ulster Hall. Reflecting on the year for Paddy, was it perfect? Did it go to plan for you? Would you have liked him to box a little more regularly? And then moving on from that, what would you like for Paddy this year? Names, titles, pushing towards a world title, I presume.
Well, in honesty, like obviously them two fights Paddy was in, they probably couldn't have went any better. Paddy he was a bit unfortunate last March when he was meant to fight a guy from London. Can't remember his name. But obviously Paddy had to pull out the day of the weigh-in because of his knee. It was a freak. That was a freak one. What happened there? But anyway, so it started off a wee bit slow, but that was the Fela fight was absolutely brilliant. That and the Ulster Hall was the two best nights so far in my coaching career. Like, do you know what I mean? Because of the atmosphere and stuff like that. There, it was absolutely brilliant. Even this performance, I absolutely loved Paddy's performance, hadn't it? He'd done absolutely everything that we had been working on for near enough 2 months before. Because the studying I'd done with a guy, what I wanted him to do, he did it perfectly. And he looked comfortable doing it also. I think that guy was kind of tucked back a wee bit because of how good Paddy was on it. Because I'd heard after the fight that they had expected to just steamroll Paddy and then move on to the next one. And that couldn't have went any further from what they wanted, you get me? So that was a brilliant night, and then obviously the Ulster Hall was absolutely amazing. But I actually don't know if I'm allowed to say who Paddy has a potential fit in, so I'll not say it at all. But he could look like a big one here. Yeah. We were talking, myself and Paddy, earlier on, and we decided that we probably shouldn't name the name, but I know the name. And it's a big fight. Well, you only told me today, actually, to be fair, but it's a huge fight and a particularly winnable fight. But we won't talk too much about it because we can't name the name, so there's no point, and it's not fair on the people who watch the video. But yeah, so going forward, obviously seems to be a big fight in the pipeline. We won't mention any names, but in terms of like, what do you see in Paddy's future? Is a world title something that you see? I mean, if he was able to get this next big fight and win that fight, that all of a sudden puts him, and he said to me today, he's ranked now in the top 10 with the WBA as well, which is massive. Has the WBC silver international title, so he's getting ranked within the governing bodies now as well. Is a world title in the next year, 18 months, something that you're kind of targeting as his coach? That would be amazing if that was to come about. But me and Colin were actually just talking in the cafe about just talking about everybody in the gym and the potential that they have and what titles they can end up winning and stuff like that. And people had to remember too, like Paddy is like 33, but Paddy near enough didn't box in his 20s at all. So Paddy's a lot fresher than people would imagine. Most people coming up to his age are basically packing it in, but Paddy's only getting going because he's so fresh. Like, he hasn't had all them hard years of sparring that people have in pro gyms, and he hasn't been on the high performance, so where you're sparring every day and you're getting your brains bashed in by the top people in the country. So it's actually been a positive that Paddy hasn't boxed in his 20s, even though obviously he won the Ulster League title when he was like maybe 26 or something, whatever. But he trained for 3 weeks for it or something. You get me? So Paddy has always had the talent, and now he's actually really starting to show it. But like at the end of the day, as I say, he's his last 3 fights and that he's been with me, he's won all 3 by knockout, and all 3 pretty early enough as well. So we're going on the right path, and you actually don't know how far it's going to take us. And this here fight that I was telling you about, like, and the guy is actually pretty much, I would go as far as say he's more on his way down, and it's Paddy's on his way up. So if Paddy was to win, it would be a great stepping stone to push him on then for big titles. Like, obviously Canelo's got every belt that Paddy's with. I doubt it very much that Paddy could ever get a fight with Canelo. Let's be real here. I think they look at stuff like Instagram followers and all for stuff when they're trying to build a fight. If somebody's not big enough because he's a megastar, let's be real, then you're not going to get the fight. So But who knows? Canelo's fighting here for the cruiserweight title, isn't he? Against the African guy.
Yeah, Ilunga Makabu. So I think they're talking about it, but now there seems to be other fights on the table for Canelo. Like they're talking about Al Heyman and PBC apparently are offering him a 1-fight deal with Charlo, with Jamal Charlo, who's the WBC middleweight champion, but to come up and defend the undisputed super middleweight titles. And then apparently Eddie Hearn is in the midst of offering him a 2-fight deal with Bivol for the WBA light heavyweight title and the Golovkin rematch. So that's what they want. So there's like 3 fights that are on the table for him, like coming up. So, and then the Makabu fight is thereabouts, but it's hard to know what Canelo's going to do. Someone who has so many options like that, isn't it? It's hard to know where he is. Would you like to see those belts disperse and then Paddy all of a sudden maybe is really in with a shout to fight for maybe a vacant title or to get into a manager position quite quickly?
Yeah, definitely. You always get it in boxing when there's obviously if he was to move away from the division, all bats are up for grabs. You never know. Could be somebody who Bob Arm or whatever, Al Heyman, they could get a fight. Look at Paddy as an easy fight to win the title, and then there you go. It's your chance. And with Paddy, what big hammer that he has, he could take anybody out. Let's be real here with 10-ounce gloves on. So I see when he's fighting the fella, I tried his gloves on. I hit something with them on, and I cut the knuckle on me. So I went. At me, there's definitely going to be cuts in this fight here. Paddy and the guy was cut. Obviously, the fight got stopped because Paddy broke the guy's nose. So, but I was going to myself, like, if I was punching and whatever and hurt my ankle, Paddy's going to be really smashing here, like, you know what I mean? Because he's a big puncher. So with 10 his gloves on, Paddy with him, or with the punch he has or whatever, like, you never know where it could take him. And obviously, he's getting better and better too in here with his skill set. And the fact that he's a professional outside the ring too, like, you never know. You just never ever know.
Yeah, the sky seems to be the limit for Paddy at the moment. He's really riding the crest of a wave at the moment, it seems. So let's move on to talk about Owen O'Neill. Obviously, kind of a fan favourite, isn't he, Owen? Like a local fan favourite. 7-0 now.
A Doghouse Friday favourite as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Owen really does bring it, doesn't he? And he did today in the sparring. I was very impressed with Owen today. Even I seen him about 6 months ago, give or take, and like I know it's sparring versus like an actual fight, but he looked much improved today. Is Owen improving at a seriously rapid rate, and is he still making those improvements, incrementally since you started working with him?
Last year or so, and Owen's been here the whole time. He hasn't took no breaks, so he's picking up a lot of stuff, and he's been here sparring. He's able to implement it in sparring. And so he's improving all the time. Yeah. And Owen, as I say, has been training from the days we were training in the Mary Peters track. And during the first lockdown, Owen basically hasn't stopped. Yeah. So so obviously he's going to show improvements in, you know what I mean? The fact that he's here every day and training hard.
How important in general is it for you, like, guys being like that Owen O'Neill model, if you like, being in the gym, like, even if he's not eating that well at times, even if he's out having a few drinks here and there, that he's in the gym all the time, actually improving day to day, like technically getting better? How important is that?
I think it's actually fatal, to be honest with you. There's some people out there who are pretty gifted in terms of their talent and their skill, and they can adapt to things pretty quick. But the fact that Owen didn't really box in his teens, like I think maybe his late teens, he boxed like intermediate type of level, but now he's like playing catch up. So him being here every day is fatal for him, especially, and as I say, fatal for others too, because if you want to make it to world level, as I said, would you see like people like Earl Spence taking time off? Would you see Terence Crawford taking time off? Would you see the best in the world like Usyk and stuff? Probably not. So, and that's the main reason why they're at the top. So so it's fatal, especially people like Owen and people who are kind of playing catch up. They're here all the time. Yeah, you get me?
100%. So, what do you see in Owen's future going forward? Was talking to him earlier on. He's a little bit unsure of, like, managerial wise, promotional wise, with with the guys who are in charge of his career at the moment. Just slightly unsure of what the next move is at the moment, but hopefully we'll get news soon. But what do you like? How busy do you want Owen to be, and what kind of increases in opponents and kind of step ups do you want him to make this year?
Well, recently we've heard that Owen may be fighting in an 8-rounder for like a Celtic title or something like that. I think because of COVID, like British basketball is not having no shows in January and maybe not any in February in Belfast anyway. So it's not really looking sure until you get a fight date. You're not going to know what basically the path is. You get me? So, but what I would like for him is to be, I would love him to actually be a lot more busier, because, as I say, he's here every day. He's always kind of staying in top of things in terms of fitness and stuff. So he deserves to be fighting all the time because he wants it. You know me? When there is a lot of people out there, and especially in Belfast too, who are just happy to be called a professional boxer. And it's more of a social thing. Like for a social status, I'm a professional boxer, I'm a semi, but Owen's not that guy. Owen's doing it because he actually wants to, he's a fighter, you know me? And he's in here sparring and every week. So at the end of the day, I would love him to be busy. I would love him to have that 8-rounder for a Celtic title, and then hopefully that pushes him on then to get even bigger fights. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
definitely. So move on again. You're working with Lee Reeves now. What's it been like working with Lee, and again, like what do we kind of want for his future, his 2022? How should that look in your opinion?
Well, it's another thing too. I think Lee's manager's from Canada, so I don't really know what's going on in terms of like in Canada or in America in terms of COVID. So it's actually very hard, as I say, even my own, to see what type of path we're going. You know me? But one thing about Lee, he's every time you look at his Instagram, he's away in Spain training. He's here for 2 weeks training. He's back home training, but he's always training. That's the main thing. He's a hard worker. He stays in shape. He's also a true professional. You get me? And he's willing to obviously leave Limerick to come to Belfast to train. So he's another one. I would love him to be busy, and if anything, he would be ready for titles, I think, because they say like even in Doghouse Friday when he's up here, you can put him in as many rounds as you want, and he's going to be fit for it. You know me? Against anybody too. So as I say, he's not one that would love him to be busy. So and I was pretty impressed with him when I was working with him. He punches really, really hard, so he does. So yeah, I'd love him to be busy. Love to get loads of knockouts with him as well.
Great stuff. We'll hope to hear news on Lee Reeves soon. So you've a couple of young guys in the gym now as well. You've got Conor Quinn and Colin Murphy. Colin Murphy is actually here with us at the moment. Just a word on Colin, is 1-0 I believe at the moment, right?
Colin is 1-0. He had his debut in, I think it was September 5th in the Yearwood Hotel, and he boxed unbelievable. He really, really did. See, Colin was actually don't know, he's going to see if it's super bantamweight or featherweight he's going to be fighting at, and he's massive. Like, he was in there sparring big KAROL and Mccrory and all the day, and he doesn't hold back. He gets stuck clean in, you know me? And he is improving probably like no one I've ever seen. Like his head movement, his footwork. I actually said to Colin about a month ago, I actually think Colin could be a world champion.
Wow.
I really do. Colin, the way he puts it in, his mindset, I think he could. When you see other people, and the people who he sparred and stuff like that, and you're comparing them, even though it is only a spar, but you're comparing him how well he's doing the lemons and stuff like that, you go to yourself, the sky's the limit for Colin. The guy, his fight called off in December, and he done a 26-mile run 2 days later. You know what I mean? That's different, like. That's different. Like, who do you know does that? You know what I mean? So, I think he could go all the way.
That's outrageous. 26, that's a marathon, isn't it? 26 miles?
I don't even think he was training for it. Just did it. That's different. You know what I mean? Yeah. Different gravy all I got.
Yeah. And like to be able to just run a marathon without even training for it, like that's crazy. That's mental.
Mental is exactly the word we're looking for in terms of calm.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely can see the potential in here. And again, like the likes of himself and Conor Quinn sparring the big guys and getting thrown in there like that, it doesn't do it any harm, does it? Because it's controlled sparring as well. It's not like go on poddy.
Yeah. And they're working on stuff too. They are working on stuff as well, and I can see what they're working on too. So, which is a positive.
Yeah, 100%. So, in terms of Colm, he's working with Mark Dunlop, Jeremy Presume, I believe, on a managerial / kind of local show promotional deal. Is the plan just to get him out as much as possible? And would you like him to kind of fight for any, say, Irish titles or any kind of local titles or, smaller level titles in the next few fights next year or so?
See, if he said to me, Colm's fighting a 10-rounder tomorrow, I'd say let's do it. That's simple as that. Don't care what title it is. Don't care who it's against, even though that may sound reckless as a coach or whatever, but I know how good Colm is.
Yeah.
I'd say let's do it.
It must be very uplifting for your guys to see the confidence you have in them. Like when he sees how confident you are in him, to throw him in and bigger fights with bigger names and long fights, 10-rounders and stuff, must fill them with confidence. How important is that actually as a coach, if we just want to touch on that real quick? How important is it for you to kind of, or how conscious are you of that, filling your guys with confidence and telling them certain things to to make them believe in themselves day by day?
Well, one, you have to be real with them to gain the respect, and then when you do tell them what they're good at, how far they can go, then they'll believe you. But you have to be real with them as well, or they won't even believe what you're saying. Do you get me? But that's number one, is being real in terms of like what they have to improve on, what they're doing, stuff like that, and then they believe you. They said your word has like credibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So that comes first, and then, but in all honesty, because I knew, even when I was amateur, there was one guy who I used to go to because he used to give you the brutally honest truth. And I honestly used to straight up say to him, "What do you think? Do you think I'm going to win here?" And most of the time he would have went, "Yeah, well." Then I used to give me confidence. There you go, right? Happy days. Yeah. I'm going to go and win here. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's important that you've got people around you that's confident in you too.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about Conor Quinn. Absolute character. Absolute character.
Yeah.
Like
people don't know what about Conor. People don't know what. People just think he's quiet. But you seen him in here today. Yeah. That's every day. Yeah. That's every day I have to stick him like that.
Absolute head case, like in a very positive way, in a good way. But my God, like I think I turned to someone there at one stage and was like, a promoter's gonna want to snap him up because if he carries on like that in front of cameras, he's gonna get attention, and he's also really, really good. Again, a probably slightly biased view, but I watched him spar today, holding his own against the big boys. Paddy Mccrory's not just big, he's also like a world level super middleweight. Holding his own against these guys, and he's like a lightweight, right?
Yeah, no, he's flyweight.
Flyweight,
yeah.
I was wondering, someone said to me lightweight today, and I was like, no. He looks, because he's like smaller than Colm, and Colm is like super featherweight or whatever. Yeah, so talk to me about Conor Quinn. How far can he go? I've heard you say before.
Yeah, I reckon, and people probably think I'm crazy like by saying I couldn't up these predictions, but I know my fighters. Do you know what I mean? And I've known other fighters who are at the top level, but I think Conor can be the first Irish 3-weight world champion.
Really?
I genuinely do, and see the improvements Conor's made in here as well. Like you've seen it yourself. And see, when you say about the cameras and stuff, I don't think Conor would go on like that if the cameras were on him.
Really?
No, I think he would go quiet and let on. He's not like that. But that's him every day. Yeah. Even in body shot sparring, and you've seen him showboating, but that brings the best out of everybody in here as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I said the big KAROL. Like when Conor was like trash talking him, like he has to learn to do that back. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's actually bringing things out in people that didn't know they had. You know what I mean? So no, Conor. As I say, like I've seen videos of Conor sparring world champions, and he's bothering them. Do you get me? And Conor's far better now. Conor tell you himself, like Conor. See when I'm like kind of go through like a game plan for my fighters, like when Lewis was fighting, when Paddy's fighting, when again, and they fought numerous amount of times since Conor's been here. I'm kind of going over the game plan and like teaching the whole camp why I'm doing this game plan this is why it's important. So I kind of put Demons through that for like a while too. So Connor like, said to me about a month ago, like he has been through so many counts with Paddy and Lewis and everybody else in the camp, and he's also learning a lot from that. If he comes up against a certain type of fighter, that type of fighter who Paddy's come up against, who Lewis has come up against, a counter puncher, a boxer, or someone who comes forward or whatever, he's also getting better because they're getting better at the same time, if that makes sense. Yeah. People might never see that side to Conor that you seen today, which is a shame. But I want him to be that person when he's in the ring. Yeah. But I think Conor is the type that, because he punches so hard, he's just going to knock loads of people out straight away. And you're never going to see that side to him. But hopefully one day people will see how good he is, because he's unbelievable. He really is.
How quickly can he be challenging for major titles, like the likes of Irish, to whether he would fight for British or not, I'm not sure. But, you know, British, European, how fast do you think he can push up through them titles?
100%. Like, Conor is fit. Like, see, Conor hasn't fought in, I think it's 2 years, like next week or something, whatever. Conor hasn't stopped training. Conor trains twice a day, almost every day, and he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. He's got a girlfriend. Both of them are quiet. He lives the life. He's a true professional, even when he hasn't got a fight coming up, and he's proven that to me so far, because he hasn't had a fight since we've been together, and he's here every day. He's getting better and better. He eats well, sleeps well. He's got it. He's got it all. He really, really has. And I actually think he could be the first Irish flyweight world champion.
That would be absolutely amazing. Who's he working with at the moment?
Martin.
Yeah, that's what I was just wanted to make sure, because I just wasn't. I doubt myself for a second. Any word from Mark on kind of getting Conor out and trying to get him busy, or?
See, that's the thing about it, because of COVID. Also, Mark was trying to run a show, he was saying to me, but it fell through because he actually was trying to get it at the end of January, and it fell through because there was no fights in January from the British Boxing Board. Hopefully March is when Conor gets going, and I tell you what, Conor would fight every week. Yeah. And he's ready for it too. Conor, as I say, fight every week and have whatever many rounds you want. Do you know what I mean? So I actually would hope Conor would get a 6-rounder, his first fight back. You know what I mean? The way Callum's pro debut was a 6-rounder, and move them on. Because I really look forward to when Conor gets going. Like, really do.
Is the idea just to push him through quickly? Like, you don't want to have like 6 4-rounders against nobody's. Like, you just want to straight in, let's go.
Thing is, I can see Conor going next 10 fights, all 10 knockouts, probably 1 and 2 rounds. That's how good Conor is. And as I train him, take him on the pads, and everybody in here with the body shots and stuff, who's in sparring and body shots, they know how hard he can hit as well. Do you know what I mean? They don't let him know what. Do you know what I mean? But I know he can bang, so he can really, really bang.
One to watch, Conor Quinn and Colin Murphy. Two to watch out of this gym. Quick word on KAROL, the big Polish crusher. Yeah, really, really high level. I wasn't aware of him, to be honest, before I came in today, but really high level fighter. And what's the kind of plan for him? What would you like to see for him?
Well, KAROL himself would tell you he's learning so much since he's came here. KAROL won 2 Ulster League titles at 91 kilo, I think it was, but now he's done the light heavyweight, which is like 81, I think, in the pros. Because like really, really, really fit. Like, after his training session the other day, I seen him doing so many miles on the bike, and I think he went an 8-mile run afterwards. So that's just the way he lives. I think he's in a bit of a thing at the minute with the manager he's with in Poland. He's in a bit of trouble, but at the same time, hopefully once he gets out of that, then he can get going ASAP. But at the same time, even if he doesn't, I'm happy to train him here for next 6 months, go through everything that I need to go through with him that's going to make him better, because he's only been here maybe 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks maybe. Okay. So I would like to go through so much with him the way I went through with Conor, and when the way I've been going through with Conor. So I would like to do the same thing with KAROL, because you see him yourself, how athletic he is and how strong he is and fast he is. So if you put all that into good use, and plus KAROL's actually very smart. He's an intelligent guy, very well mannered, and and he also appreciates the teaching in here too. So he's going to take it in a lot better than people who obviously aren't going to appreciate it. So I can see KAROL going very far too, because he can punch very hard, and once he adapts to the things that we do in here, he's going to be very. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like.
Yeah, he does look that way already. You can see he has like really good fundamentals, very technically very good shape, good posture. Like he's set up well to start like to build on. You know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.